Oh, was good, y'all. It is currently 3 in the morning. I can't go to bed. So instead of just sitting there with my thoughts, why not talk to myself? And I think I made a video and then uploaded it anyway of me talking about like friends in general. And not in general, of like what recently happened to me. And I've had a little bit more time to process, I guess. But basically, the friends that I was talking about were friends that I had in middle school. Like I originally had like a founding like 4 friends, and then I slowly diverged that into like I had friends that I had for sports, I had friends that I had for school, and I had friends that I had for like gaming after school. And I didn't really have any friends. I was a daycare kid, so maybe that says something about my family's income. But I didn't really have friends like after school, so I was used to being alone most of the time from like 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And a lot of my social life revolved around my family anytime past that. And I don't know why I remember that so distinctly, because I was playing soccer at that time. So I feel like most of those days I wouldn't be at daycare, I'd be at soccer practice, but I guess I just like wasn't. I don't really know. It's not clear in my brain. But anyways, I played soccer for a while, but after like the elementary school friends kind of extended into just like a congregation of like Asians. And then those Asians became my core friend group, in which some of them, which I played video games with, ended up becoming like my actual crux. And I ended up, out of the friends from my elementary school that I used to play video games with, and my friends at the middle school that I used to play video games with, the only ones that stuck was like maybe 4 out of 5 of them from middle school. And then that kind of expanded when I started picking up some old like elementary school friends, some friends that I used to game with. But besides that, like my life revolved around like social stuff, like sports, and a little bit your academics, just like what classes other people are in. Like, if you're in like more AP classes, more honors classes, you're surrounded by a different crowd than if you're in like the quote unquote normal classes, which may say something about how my high school liked to organize itself, so to speak. But I was just like mostly surrounded by Asians, but I was only close with the ones that I played video games with. I wasn't even particularly close with like my teammates, maybe my track teammates, but not like for soccer or cross country. Like those are just people like you work out with, and like maybe you see them in the halls, but you don't really talk to them. And once you leave high school and you leave the convenience of being around people all the time, you start to see which friends that were friends of proximity and which friends that you actually like chose and which friends actually choose you. And for a while, I think the friend group like somewhat stayed together. I was like one of my soccer teammates, sorry, 2 of my soccer teammates I was still pretty close to. I would see a third around, and I would still get invited to stuff revolving like a greater friend group. But eventually we all started to separate into like our own little cliques within the larger like friend group. And I say friend group was like people who would sit in the same room together or sit around the same like tree and eat food together. Like that was it. And that was just how I knew it, because you could talk to anyone in that circle. But yeah, that changed. And what the big reckoning for what happened, at least to me, in terms of like my first like getting canceled, I guess, or my friend group changing, was when I got associated with somebody who played Super Smash Bros. And that person was allegedly a pedophile. And not a pedophile, a sexual predator, because we were all like under 18 at the time. This was high school, and this was my junior year, so it wasn't like people were like all older than 18 yet. And this person who I just happened to know, and I don't know if like people knew or not, but like I was like going to this guy's like birthday parties and stuff. So I was like, I guess I'd say I was on the closer end with this person. I'm going to say like mostly not consensually, just because like I had a friend that was pretty close to this guy, and then these people were like childhood friends, and then any person who got close to that person ended up inadvertently getting close to the other person as well, whether you liked it or not. And I guess I just didn't have the heart to say no back then. And now we all kind of like ghost the guy, put him off in a corner. He still goes to my school actually, but it's just association. And I get how that might tarnish your reputation, just like be known on a bunch of people who might like be miscreants, for example. But me personally, and I stand very firmly on this, there's actually just no like real argument to this. Didn't do anything, right? I didn't upskirt anybody. Nobody thought that I upskirted anyone. Nobody thought that I had like pictures or supported this guy getting pictures or like helped him delete stuff off his computer or anything. And like this is a school we're talking about, right? They're not gonna do some crazy investigation, find out everything that was deleted. Like someone deletes stuff off the computer, it's gone forever. They clear the trash, it's gone forever. And that was as deep as the investigation could go. But these people who I did not know, and from my perspective at the time, just barred me from one of like my more social friend groups. Like not the one that I eat lunch with, like a mix of the people that I played sports with, and a mix of like my personal five, kind of. Like some people from my elementary school too. So like I was like relatively close to at least half of this friend group. And something notable about me is I wasn't particularly close with any of the girls. And that's just something from my lived experience. I've struggled to have friends for a very long time till I got to college, which were just, women. And it was mostly because if I ever had a friend that was a woman, usually somebody in that friend group was interested in me. And then once I started dating that person, all the other people would kind of fade away. Or because I was friends with that person, I was friends with their friends as well. And that was as deep as the friendship would go. So if I ever stopped being friends with that person, or aka like I had a breakup, I would lose all the female friends. So I don't know, I feel like female is a bad term, even though it's like correct, but whatever. So that's at least where I stand. And then from there, I kind of lost all of those friends, including like my core like gaming friends that I had. And unbeknownst to a lot of my friends, they thought I just like disappeared from the friend group. I had to like figure out like where I eat lunch. I guess my friends didn't want me around. They didn't want to be associated with me. And that went on for some time. I remember I got a lot of my friends like Christmas gifts, but I had no clue who I was able to reach out to because I would reach out to some people and I get ghosted. So I celebrated, I don't want to say I celebrated Christmas alone. I celebrated Christmas with my family. I always do. But I never gave out like the gifts that I had for people. And this will come back. But fast forward to my friends reach out to me. I guess they finally responded to my messages. And I slowly got reintegrated back into like my core five. And I guess my trust was kind of broken, like from then going forward, where anybody who was kind of involved in this incident, I just implicitly like distrusted, just because I feel like this person, I don't want to say betrayed me, but kind of abandoned me. They didn't even hear my side. They didn't care if I was guilty or not. They just, done. I'm not a part of the friend group anymore. And building from that, I also just, I guess, had this big distrust in women because they were the driving force behind somebody who's like a predator. A sexual predator, because that's the target, right? I'm like, this guy wasn't a gay predator. It was a man. This person targeted like women at our school. So it's just like public enemy number one. And there is some error on my side where I defended him not for his actions, but for the lack of proof around his actions. Because at the time, it just sounded like another rumor. Like people just said like, oh, this person said that he did it. Like he saw the photos, as if like this person took predatory photos of someone and then just started looking at it like in class or something. They looked over his shoulder. Like I really don't know, but they didn't see the incident. They saw the photos, which, unfortunate part about a rumor is that, well, someone has to make up the rumor, in which this is just the kind of person, I guess it was just I would just call them more socially outcasted, not the typical outgoing type. And it's easy to believe that this person would do that because you look at the person and then you think like they got no play. And I'll just leave it at that before I just start roasting this random person who I still know of. And that would be a crazy allegation to just, pull from your butt. But it becomes more believable when you have these details, right? It's like, why would somebody just make that up to harm someone? And which I personally, knowing the guy who quote unquote spread the rumor, who saw the photos, I don't see why that person would lie about it. I don't see the joys in just tarnishing somebody's reputation who you don't know, right? Like, why would you bring it up? It's just spice up your life because you're bored in the suburbs. Like, it didn't really make sense to not believe in it, which is pretty fair. But at least to me, it didn't make much sense to believe in it because I knew this person and I didn't really understand the motives behind it, in which I also have known them to do a pretty crazy thing. Like they catfished one of my friends and just pretended to be a girl for like days on end, which is a little crazy. They try to get them to go somewhere, and my friend who talked about it said to beat that person up, the person that they were catfishing the person that was doing the catfishing wanted to beat up or at least troll or say some lesson to the person who was getting catfished, which didn't really make that much sense to me. Like, honestly, the person that was getting catfished, pretty reasonable and honestly overall like nice guy, and I don't really know what that guy did to deserve that, but he's just trying to be nice to a stranger on the internet, and all that did was cost him like his time and energy, and also like fake allegations of this person likes him, and he like low-key rejected the catfishing person, and it just went nowhere. A weird story. I guess a story for another time. But I go back and I'm now like a leadership position in one of my sports, and I still have to work with these people that initially like rejected me. So I don't want to say like I'm a little salty, but I was a little salty. I was definitely unhappy to be around these people that initially rejected me, and for reasons beyond my know. This is all like post hoc. I actually didn't know any of the allegations that were against this person. I just defended the person out of principle, because instead of saying what people allege that he did, they just called him a sexual predator, which I guess would make more sense why I would defend someone, because I'm like, why would this person be a sexual predator? I just don't understand. All this person does is play games on their Switch, and honestly, they played some like questionable anime games, like I don't know if it's like a rom-com thing. Like the guy might have been a lolicon. I don't know. It was a little strange. I'm not gonna say like collecting anime figurines and gooning to them, but I am saying this guy like would bring his own computer to play his own dating sim games like at school, which is yeah. But from there, my friends. Okay, totally skipping around on the timeline, but really good with my friends. I kind of just have this lack of trust. I don't think I've really opened up to them since and it's mostly just because I'm like, what would they do with it? I don't want to say these people are gonna like, betray me and say all my secrets, but I'm just like, I just don't see the value in like being candid with these people. I think all I do now is just like, crash out. But I guess it was just nice to have friends. I never experienced what it's like to have no friends since elementary school. And even then, like I still had friends at elementary school. I just like didn't always have friends to hang out with, and that was okay. I just like played video games at home, or like hung out with my family, which I was more bitter about at the time. But or I played sports, and I had people who I played sports with, and that was chill. So that went on for a while. I'm doing my sports. I'm doing the social thing. I'm like silently rejecting these people in my head, trying not to be like a super big douche and bring it up all the time in person. Like I'm just trying to get by, so to speak. I low-key was burning bridges. Like these people, they would try to, I don't want to say like invite me to hangouts again, but they would try to talk to me and just like gab it up. And I really didn't want to hear any of it, because in my mind, these people were the ones that spreaded the rumor, that rejected me, and that affirmed that whatever I had to say or my side of the story just like wasn't worth listening to. They just agreed implicitly that I was in cahoots with this guy and didn't really care if I did anything at all. And that sucks for me. Right? It's just, you have a bunch of friends who you thought you were really close with who just like don't believe in you, and they just assume the worst of you once one person who doesn't know you at all makes an allegation. Like I don't even know where this started. And I find out where this started. At least not where this started, but at least where this started within my friend group so much later. Like literally last month. And I think I just go on with this silent resentment in my heart for a while. Like we graduate and life's good, and like the entirety of senior year, it's like my friend group is completely back to normal. And in my brain, I honestly don't think about it a lot of the times. My relationship with the person with the allegations never really recovered, because that was just kind of like my final straw, where this person is so socially outcasted that nobody told this person what the allegations were. They just silently suffered from it. And B, I had so many friends who I, in that time of solitude, never reached out, and I realized how many of my friends just never reach out And I used to be this person in middle school. I was like, I never wanted to like host a hangout. I always wanted to get invited to a hangout, but I started like organizing things a little bit more, or at least making it clear that I was down for whatever. And I just like, if anybody thought about hanging out, that I would be open to it, and telling people that. And then I just like, oh, I just don't plan things. And yeah, I just realized like how many people like they just don't reach out, not even like not check in, but they might have been aware of certain allegations, and then they just like never follow through on it. And the reality of it is, when I started investigating, as just asking people about it later, is that they said that they just had no clue. Like they didn't know that this was happening. They just thought that I disappeared from the friend group, or I wasn't available. But the big thing that ticked me off about a particular group of girls, I'll just say, that this group of girls was the people who I thought started it. I actually didn't know who started it at the time, like who originally saw the photos. And I thought that this rumor of me just being a predator, or like in cahoots with a predator, was from this set of girls. And in fact, this was not the case. They did dislike me though, which I didn't know. I thought they just didn't like me for that. They didn't like me for a completely separate reason, which was more reasonable. But at the time, I was supposed to go to a gathering with this group of friends, like that like middle ground social group of friends, and I just got barred out of it. Like I got a text from, I guess, an organizer of the event. It wasn't their home though, so I don't know why it was from her in particular. But they just said like I am uncomfortable, or like we all are uncomfortable. I don't remember the exact wording because I blocked the number, and that you just can't come to this event anymore, and that was the consequent end of like the friendship for me and just that entire friend group as a whole. Like I see these people, they would hung out after we graduated, and I never got invited to these hangouts ever again. I just got barred from that whole like group of people, and it all happened from this one event, and I blame them forever from it. And fast forward, I'm gonna say a year. So a year after we graduated, we're in my backyard, and it's my core group of 5, and somehow like in conversation, I don't even remember why, but it gets brought up again. And we're talking, just I guess something about like high school and interacting with people socially in the friend group. And I was like, yeah, I just got barred out by you guys like for no reason. And then they crashed out to like, no reason. Like you defended this person and they did XYZ. And I'm like, I defended them out of principle. Like I was just like, can't you understand that? First of all, even if I defended them, which I didn't defend their actions because I didn't know what their actions were, because nobody told me. You just asked me like, are you friends with this person? And then I said yes, because I play Super Smash Bros with this person. I'm like, I'm not gonna say like this person's coming to my wedding, but I was just like, yeah, this person like lets me play Smash on their Switch, and that's chill. And I was like, and they're just like, and you just said, we can't be friends with you, and I got no further explanation for like a long period of time. A whole month. Christmas passed before I got an explanation of like why I suddenly like couldn't be friends with the people who I thought like were my ride or dies at the time. And I guess they told me more details, and they were just like, yeah, you defended this person. And I'm like, yeah, because I even if there were like rumors, you made it sound like rumors. And even to this day, it kind of still is rumors, because of course there's no like hard evidence, which is hard, right? It's like grape. It's the people involved definitely know that it happened, but getting like hard evidence on the fact that it happened is difficult. Yeah, fairs. And it was only one person who witnessed this, so it's literally just like word for bar for bar, word for word, which just isn't great. But as far as like the social damage had been done. People believe the person. I don't really blame the people for believing the person, because like, man, like nobody knew this guy. This guy was pretty antisocial, and at least on my end, I'm like, you look at the person, and he just didn't make a great case for them. It was just like easy to believe. I don't want to say the person was ugly, but they definitely weren't the type to be getting like women the traditional way, and they come off pretty creepy just because of the poor skin, the poor hygiene, and the lack of social credit, just in general. So that's that on that person. But I crashed out because I never got an apology from my friends. I never got an admittance of wrongdoing. They never said that, oh, I'm sorry for ostracizing you from the friend group, or like, yo, you didn't actually do anything wrong. Like, all of this stuff like bothered me personally, because I'm just like, not only did I kind of just like get let back into the friend group, like it was some pity offering, but my friends didn't even feel like they were in the wrong, you know, for getting on me for doing literally nothing. Like defense of a rumor of a suicide and just not calling somebody a predator without knowing if they're a predator or not. Like, it's a pretty serious allegation. It's like if somebody did rape allegations on someone, because this was a sexual assault that they were accusing him of, and nobody really knew, but everybody just treated him like he was a predator. I'm like, I would be pretty pissed if it's just one person and said that about me, and it just derailed my reputation forever, and that would suck. Because even, like, I'm not gonna say that we should take those seriously. Don't assume that people are lying when they say that a sexual assault happened to them. But, you know, if one person says it and now this person's like a sexual assault person forever, like, I know that it's hard to get evidence, but I'm like, damn, one? Like, we have that much power to just ruin someone's reputation. I guess this is something that I'm particularly alarmed about, because I was told to avoid being one-on-one with women just in case that happened to me. I guess this is an irrational fear that I've internalized. Like, I hope that people aren't lying about that and using that to gain status, or just to bring other people down just like for their own enjoyment. But maybe it happens. I just don't know. It's not happened to me. I never experienced it, but I don't even know how they get the numbers of like sexual assaults that happen without being reported. And it's all outside of my field. Oh, yeah, anyways, not the point. Bottom line is, I'm like, I just felt like a crazy thing to call someone, you know, just a bunch of people like, just agreeing on it. And I guess back to focusing on my friends. Yeah, I was pretty unhappy. So I still didn't get an apology that night. I got an apology from one friend who didn't know that it was going on. And that was the consensus from the majority of my friends. It was just, I'm not going to say like the close five, but the majority of the friends that weren't implicated in the situation, they're like, oh, at the meeting that you were supposed to be at, that you got barred from, I just thought that you couldn't make it. Or among my friends, there's just like, oh, I just had no idea that this was happening. And that, it's kind of crazy. And of course, they didn't reach out. They didn't check in. They didn't do that before. So I guess that just kind of gave me the clarity to think like, oh, people don't do this for me. And I'm not as close as with these people as I thought. But besides that, it was just like, oh, man. I just got barred from a bunch of friends and socially isolated. And that can kind of just happen and crashing down. And it's like, I didn't even do anything wrong. It's like people who get cancer, you know? Like, some people, I don't want to say they're asking for it, but they don't stack the deck in their favor. And other people, like, there's somebody I know who, great cyclist, super healthy, slept well, ate right, and still got cancer. And that just sucks, because it can happen to you. And life goes on. We end up all going to college, and we gradually grow apart. And when summers come, we all come back together, happy, hoo-ha, yay. And I slowly forget about it. You know, I don't ever forget the social ostracization. I'm still struggling with it today to make my intention line up with my impact, so the words that I say actually get understood as I intend to and get felt in the way that I intend to. But this summer comes back around and our time becomes really limited. So I have friends that have started working now, like internships, and I've one friend that I started working like crazy. I'm still working, and we can basically only hang on the weekends. So we're looking at limited time. And some of the people who like once rejected me, like the girls and my core five, they like started, they're still a friend group, right? So they hang out and they make it pretty clear that I'm not invited. And there's a thing that we like to do. We like to play pickleball. And when you go to pickleball, go with a bunch of people, because there's limited amount of courts, so you want to have like only the people that you want to play with on your court, so other like random people can't queue. And other people who played pickleball was like the people in the friend group that rejected me. And this slowly all gets to get dredged back up as we're interacting, and I guess I come up in conversation. So they go on a trip. I'm not allowed to go on the trip. I text. This is present, like the last month and a half. And I text on the trip. Also, this is like building off of. I'm all over the place, but this is building off of like a little bit of my resentment in the friend group. Just because I had like one friend that explicitly said like, yeah, you always make me feel terrible, and I never want to see you again, but I don't want to ever hang out with you one on one, which to me was kind of crazy, because at least how I saw it, like, sure, I wasn't always the nicest to this person, but I never was mean for the sake of being mean. I was always acting with like good intentions, you know, or at least with the intent for this person to improve themselves. And this is middle school that I've known this person. This guy's a part of the core 5 all the way to high school. That like, it's not just me, but a bunch of our friends are ragging on this person because they just don't do right by themselves. And this is way before I had the experience to have a girlfriend or to interact with, I guess, to generalize, women. To say that somebody can ask for help and ask for advice, and they still might not mean it. You know, like, you could ask for somebody's honest opinion, but if the honest opinion doesn't align with what the person is looking for, they might not have actually wanted your honest opinion. They just want someone to agree with them, or they just want someone to listen to them. They don't want somebody to boss them around and tell them that they're right. So, or like that they're not living their life correctly. And also, I'm a bit more sensitive about advice nowadays. Where I'm like, I may not always know the best way for you to live your life. I don't really want to insert my lifestyle and what I think is right for me and what makes me happy to you, you know? And no matter how deep I dive into like the research of like what's good for your body and the longevity, I'm like, who am I to say that living a longer life is going to mean a more fulfilling or a happier one? Which was a rough realization for me to come to. So that aside, back to present day, back to friends. It's getting judged back up. Like, why are we not friends with this particular person? And I find out that these people didn't actually have a problem with me from the start. They didn't assume that I was a predator. It was just that other people within the friend group, other women, wasn't any of the guys, because I talked to the guys post hoc and asked, and they were just like, I didn't know this was going on, thought you couldn't make it. Were uncomfortable with the idea of me being there just based off this association. So the idea didn't actually come from the people that I resented. And, you know, I know who started the allegations, just because that was the alleged person who saw it. I actually saw that person today. Didn't talk to him. I wasn't really close with the guy, nor do I really care to dredge things up. But these people didn't like me because they thought I was a misogynist. And I actually been wanting to make this video for like quite a bit of time. And I thought about it. I'm like, why do they think I'm a misogynist? And then I remembered I used to say some crazy things. And to them in particular, it's not like in general. I did have as all young men do, an I hate women phase, in which kind of ironic because I live in a home with like sisters and my mom, and I think they're all awesome and amazing. And I've never hated them. But like, they were like, to me, the exception, not the rule, because the people that I've interacted with, they just, I guess, that's just how it tastes in my mouth. You. But besides the crazy things I used to say in the past, I had one of those like that as you should girlfriends. And that's the easiest way that I can describe her. And it was also like my first encounter with third wave feminism. So I believe what is referred to, and it's the belief that women deserve reparations for the opportunities that they were barred from in history, which is like pretty fair, right? It's like, if you ever heard about the 14th Amendment or the Emancipation Proclamation, like, rules get changed and then change gets implemented way later after the law happens, because you need law enforcement to actually enforce the change. But that doesn't undo the fact that when people were like freed, they had less money and resources, and the jobs were already held by the people who, had the jobs and had the work. And then you got like sharecropping, for example, or like these incredibly predatory contracts, which just didn't really give people any freedom. So, or just reinstituted slavery. It's called like a wage slave, and where they just all their living expenses are paid for by the wages you give them. Could you imagine, like, you put someone in a box and you say you work and you get this money, and the money can only pay for like food and rent, which they already gave slaves before that, right? And they're like forced to have those living conditions because they can't afford anything else. Like, wouldn't that be kind of crazy? Because it's low key what happened after the Emancipation Proclamation. But that aside, it goes the same for women, right? They got denied women's suffrage. Women couldn't work for the longest time. They were forced to climb the social ladder by like having a husband. And feminism, which I guess I don't want to be like a purist. I don't really know, right? Because I wasn't alive. But the original idea, as far as I understand from history, was just for equality, right? For women to have access to the same opportunities, and for women to have access to the same capabilities, right? They can vote, they can own land, they get paid the same wage. And you know what? Just culturally, that hasn't changed. Like, the average wage difference between like men and women, I think it's like 70%. The women just get 30% less to the dollar compared to men. And you can see it in the top billionaires all the way to the lowest wages. Like, women tend to get less promotions. It's like that's not really a reflection on women and their capabilities, but like the general consensus is that women get paid less as a reflection of the chance that at any moment they might become mothers and require maternal leave, and then they have to get paid for like 9 months. Like, excuse me. Like, that is the correlation. Is that the causation? I don't know. I'm not an expert. But holy crap, how did I get here? This is a crazy side tangent. Oh, but instead of explaining all of that to me from my girlfriend at the time's perspective, she just said, like, you wouldn't understand. And the reparations, which I was confused about, were supposed to come from me. Like paying for dinner. I'm not gonna say like we should recreate those times, but like paying for dinner, I swear, was a thing just because like the woman just didn't have money, because the woman didn't have jobs, because the men didn't allow the woman to have the jobs. But this third wave feminism demanded that like, oh, the man always take care of the woman, and the man always pay for dinner and always like drive her around. I actually didn't have a car back then, but you get the idea. Like, she demanded acts of service, and I'm like, I like acts of service, but I don't like feeling like I have to do them. I like choosing it, or at least feeling like I'm choosing it. And she also was like more on the, I don't want to say liberal, but like more woke side, in which like they were super particular about what words you say. And I was a high school boy. We did not say the good words. I'm just gonna leave that there. The good words that are inclusive and good for people. I've been PR trained. I've done a lot of teaching. Now I'm much better about my inclusive language. But it was not always this way. So this overall just not great for me. I guess I don't do well with things that I don't understand. And I'm also somebody who like struggles socially. So hearing that from someone and just not being able to accept it at face value, like I needed to understand it from their perspective. And she didn't really like explaining it because she just felt like it was an entitlement. Like, it was just a right for men to take care of women because they abused them and continued to abuse them like for so long. And I'm like, I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I don't know if that's fair or not, but that was at least the vibe that I had. So then leaving that relationship, I naturally like got mad at anything like super feminist based, and I was more like an idea for general equality, not necessarily like just feminism. And I guess this is when I found out about the different levels of feminism, where it's just like equality is different from equity, equal opportunity versus actual equality. Super different. Like, do you need to enforce a 50-50 rule on staff? No. But do you need to women to be able to access the same like application that men have access to? Like, yes. You know, and the same promotions and everything else, and then like how you have like fair judging criteria, all of that, like so outside of my scope. But after that, I started getting really mad whenever a woman would say like, as you should, or I'm not gonna say I'll get mad at a woman asking to pay for dinner. I'm like, I think whoever asks the other person to go on the date should pay for the dinner because it's like their idea. But yeah, let's just say that I wasn't being very nice to women at the time, and which was fine because I wasn't. Whoa, but at least it was fine. I got away with it for a while because I was surrounded by men, and especially like sports-based men. The treatment got worse just because like you think you're better than women because like you're like athletically superior, so to speak, which not true for endurance sports, like extreme endurance, like Ironmans and ultra marathons. Like women blow men out of the water at those. So, just some food for thought. Back to the original story that I was supposed to talk about. They didn't actually dislike me. No, they disliked me for the misogyny, and they were like the I hate all men type, if you catch my drift. And allegedly, when a woman says that, they don't actually hate all men. They just use that to express a quality that they don't like about men. Like that was the explanation that I got at the time. Like this is a part of the common male culture that I've observed from my personal experience, and you know what? I just want some support or to be able to talk about it, and I hate men was like the segue. And this wasn't great. This was not great for a young mind because it just immediately went to, dang, these people are misogynists. And I was someone who was very outspoken back then, to the dismay of my peers. So I met that misogyny with like yo, that's kind of crazy, you can't say that. And then they defended themselves. I'm like, okay. And then I just started being misogynist back. And like I'd basically repeat whatever they said, but then just say it about women. You know, like maybe I'd get a little creative, pick a stereotype, but generally I think I kind of just like pigeoned back whatever they said. Like I would just say like I hate all women and then like insert statement. I think I probably used the B word back then too. Like I honestly don't really remember what I said. Like I remember that was the idea that I had, but the execution may have been like way worse. And unfortunately, that information is lost to time. I also thought that I was low-key homies with these people because like as men, you kind of just insult each other and your friends to try to get at something that needs to change. So I probably just like insulted them in order to try to get that point across. Which hindsight 2020 probably doesn't land the same with women as it does for men. And by probably I mean like no, sometimes I do insult my sisters and it works out, but they're like my sisters, so it's different. But anyways, that was the vibe, let's say. That was how I approached things back then. And they held on to it to this day. You know, it's like, well, I don't like. Well, sorry, they didn't hold on to this day. That was the whole point. They're just like, oh, we don't really care anymore. Like, I'd be willing to make amends. I don't actually have disdain for this person. Like, this was just the reason why I did back then. And then my friends confronted me and they're like, I want you to make amends. Like, I will facilitate talks to make amends with these people who you thought like rejected you all this time ago. And I said no. And the reason I said no was because I don't feel like I'm entitled to let these people back into my life after they so easily like just like drop me out of it. You know, they didn't want to hear my side of the story. They just cared about what other people thought of me or like preserving the stake of the friend group. They never reached out. I guess they tried to make amends back when we all had to like be together, but like, we had to work together. To me, I'm like, that's just a professional relationship. So to me, that's not rekindling the friendship. That's just being professional. That is doing your duty as a leader of your community. So that was chill for me. And they thought that we were still friends, and I was just like, no, I dislike these people. I don't want to see them. Because it was the same vein of the friends that quote unquote accepted me again. It's like, y'all rejected me without even hearing my side of things, without an apology, without even caring what I did or did not do. I actually didn't do anything, and they knew that. And they still just, kicked me out, man. And that hurt me deeply, that I could just like lose my friends at a drop of a bucket just because a bunch of people dislike somebody for something that they did that I didn't do anything. Well, that's kind of crazy. And yeah, so I was mad about that, and the fact that they didn't explain my absence. They just said, "Oh, this person couldn't make it." Like, they just lied. They just lied. And so I guess nobody like knew to check in on me because, well, they thought, man, I just couldn't make it. And then they just thought that I stopped coming to the hangouts. Like somebody moves away to a different no, I guess different college, but to a different school. You're like, oh dang, we missed this guy. And then you forget about them in like a week. And I was just like, how people operate. So yeah, that like socially killed me, fried me. And also fried my personal friend group. Like, of course, I'm not gonna forgive you for that, because even though it's like a bystander for a bully. Like, even though you didn't start the rumor, you perpetuated it. And I guess you just showed that of course, you're gonna prioritize like more people's voices than mine. But like, dang, you even like bother to ask. I feel like if we were all cutting off one of my friends, I'd want to know why. And you know what? This actually did happen to one of my friends. We got socially ostracized from these people, and I'm still friends with this guy. And I asked around, I'm like, why does this person not like this person? And honestly, I didn't really agree with my core friends, and I'm still friends with this guy to this day. So, yeah. And then recently, like my one of my core five, they got mad at me for that. They're like, it makes it easier on all of us if you rekindle this friendship. And I'm like, I'm not obligated to let these people back into my life, especially after they showed me that it's so easy for them to get me out. Another part of my reasoning is, well, no diss to my friends, but like with the working and at least with us splitting time between of course our families, and then also other friends, like the rare weekends that we have beyond the work, it's just like I'm already struggling to spend time with my friends as is. Adding more friends to that list just makes it more difficult for me to see the people that I care about. And like, I only want to spend time with the friends that I really want to spend time with. And it was this core five. Like, I think I have like a solid 8. Let me think. It's about 8 of like friends that I really like seeing. And I think this was like my last year, so to speak. But it's about the last summer. I have friends that are graduating. 2 friends that are graduating. I'm due to graduate in a year and a half. And that's only thanks to my parents. I was actually supposed to graduate this year. Not this year, this academic year, next spring. And yeah. So after that, and even then, like the friends that are working, they're going to keep working. And we're all going to hopefully be working. And we're just growing up, and we're going to be in different cities. And even if we're in the same city, we're fighting for those last like 4 hours of the day, right? The 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. And it's just, the life context is going to change. It's going to be different. Life is already difficult to get these people into a room as is. And I really wanted to stress that this summer. Like, I guess, yeah, I this kind of got instilled in me early, like in 4th grade. I had a friend that was really close to move away. And I wanted to like make sure that every time I go out, I go out as much as I could. This honestly was a lot more meaningful in middle school, because I was going out every single weekend just because I could bike around places. So I wasn't, and after a while, my parents would drive me places to organize a little hangout with my friends. But I almost never said no to a hangout unless I was busy with another hangout. So I was always hanging out with people, because time is fleeting, only goes by. And I felt this pressure, but in all respect to my friends' boundaries, like, yeah, we have different tolerances, but they would come home from their internship and it's a weekend. It's like, let's hang. And they're like, and one of my friends was like, no. And they like turn around and complain that, oh, like, we don't see our friends that much, or like they're always busy. They actually crashed out on me recently for being busy the one weekend that they were free. And I felt kind of jaded because I'm like, I've made myself free every single weekend except literally this one, and nobody takes the opportunity, or you're suddenly busy on the weekend. Like, I just feel like a low priority friend. And the one weekend that I'm busy, we flame me for it when I tried so hard and organized so much. Okay. Let's see how it is. So yeah, I don't necessarily have beef with these friends. I don't want to burn bridges. But yeah, this is the last year that the environment makes it easy for us to choose each other. And I'm really excited to see where my friends end up. But it's going to be difficult to say that I want to choose the same bunch of people over and over again. I don't even know if it's like time to make new friends. I think it's time to just like get a career. It's time to grow up. And yeah. So that's my like more cohesive breakdown of my interactions with my friends so far. I also like had a heart to heart with my friends that like I bullied like whole life. And at least to him, it was like, you can't call me like chopped and ugly all the time. Like, really ruined my confidence. Really made me want to like off myself, like the bad things. And I just didn't have the clarity back then to be like, oh, you're just saying things not for a solution, just to like be heard. Like, this person wouldn't sleep, wouldn't eat right, and then complained that he was small and unathletic, or that like nobody liked him when he like didn't come to hang out. You know, or like that he was chopped and ugly, and it's like, bro, we're in middle school. But the actual insult was you don't sleep at night, and you have these big old eye bags. So yeah, I'm not gonna say that you should bully people, but man, it's the male culture. Like, bullying was all I knew. Like, you took a bad touch, people roast you. Say something out of line, people roast you. You get an 88 on a test, people roast you. Like, man, I don't want to say we all hated each other, but that was the status quo. Feedback and alignment with societal values was talking smack to each other, unfortunately. And it was in the same bucket where like anytime I hopped in the game, like, this guy would roast the hell out of me. So it was a two-way street, frankly. And I guess to this day, I'm still working on aligning what I think I mean to what I say, and how that lands. And that's the big task for the big 2-6 and on. So that's the ultimate friend timeline. A long story short, we all grow up, and life goes on. So don't be scared to leave your friends, and you know what's best for you. Hopefully, hindsight 2020, I guess we'll find out, because I'm still living under those circumstances. But I just wanted to leave this behind, and hopefully I'll have more cohesive videos to come once where I'm not up at like 4 a.m. I guess I've been having trouble sleeping recently. I have a thing where I'm like, if I don't feel myself getting more tired in 15 minutes, I'm just getting out of bed. I do something till I get tired, and I feel myself getting more dreary like as I continue to speak. But just because like I forget, like I really wanted to talk about, just because like I forgave someone doesn't mean I'm obligated to be friends with that person again. I was gonna make that a own video, like a crash out. But this is, I guess, the ultimate context of me and my friends. And I'm so friends with these people. I recently went to Big Wall with these people. Awesome, good time. But now we're all back off to college, and we're going to go back to just people who like send reels to each other. So I wanted to hang out with them as much as I could. I hung out with a lot of people this summer, and I wish I could hang out more. But so I wish that we hung out more, and I did reach out a lot, but I also just knew when people were busy because I reach out like every day. I reach out to people like individually, and yeah, like it's just people were busy, man. And I'm like, oh, that's how it goes. Eh. So, yeah. Enjoy your time while it lasts, man. Yeah. Spend time with people while you can. Never know how much more difficult it is. Just like get all your friends like in one room, you know? All right. That's about it. I feel myself like actively losing my train of thought. So no more yapping. 50-minute video essay dump. Me scrambling over my own thoughts. And yo, I saw an ad and I was like, yo, this guy's talking mad slow. And it's exactly what I'm doing, but it's okay because I'm talking to myself. And if the video is like over 30 minutes long, man, I'll make a 10-minute long video. Like no one makes it to the 10 minutes. So it's chill. It's chill. But every time I attempt this video, it doesn't get any clearer. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. No more talking about this. I'll make specialized crash outs later, and they'll be more entertaining. Okay. Bye.